ever wondered why deep down most of us don't just want love, acceptance, or opportunity? We want to be chosen. Not just noticed, chosen. Not just tolerated, chosen. Not just liked, wanted. Why do we feel a surge of joy when someone says, I pick you? Or come with me. Maybe you matter. Or even, you got this. And why does rejection, being overlooked, hurt so deeply? There's a psychology, biology, and social wiring behind this that's deeper than feelings. So today we're digging into a question most people feel but hardly ever understand. Why does everyone want to be chosen? Hey y'all, welcome to the Why Podcast, where why is always the question. And you're in the closet with Celeste Afraid. I'm happy to be here with you all. So let's chat. We're wired for social belonging. All right. Human beings evolved as a social species. Evolutionary psychologist Dr. Robin Dunbar explains that belonging to a group wasn't a luxury. It was survival. Being chosen by your tribe meant access to protection, food, alliance, and mating opportunities. So when someone selects you today, your brain still registers that moment as affirmation of belonging, even though you're not fighting anymore. You're not even fighting saber-toothed tigers anymore. In our DNA, being in wasn't optional. It was necessary. So like for myself, when I think about always not being chosen, because I wasn't chosen much, and that was fine by me. At first it wasn't, and I grew to be like, who cares? Especially in my family dynamic. I am the middle child. So my oldest, and usually this happens, the oldest is off doing their thing. The middle child gets overlooked, and then the baby is babied and catered to, which in my case was my little sister. She was catered to by my older sister, by myself, the middle sister, as well as my mom, which it was okay for me. Because I just from hearing the stories that my older sister also said when I was younger, when I was a baby, I always catered to her since she got here. So that wasn't a problem for me. I just, for myself, wanted to be chosen and thought of, and it didn't have to be in a big or grandiose way. Even the small amount of attention was like, oh, okay, I matter, right? And that was then. Because being chosen feels like value recognition. Social psychologists have found that chosen acceptance triggers positive self-worth signals in the brain. When someone says, I choose you, the brain releases rewards similar to basic pleasures. Dopamine, oxytocin, the same chemicals associated with connection and love. That's why we don't just want attention. We want intentional selection. You don't just want to be seen, you want to be selected, which is why most people in the workplace especially feel like they need to be a part of a team, a clique, a crew, or whatever that looks like, right? I remember working in a job and a new lady came in and she came from a more structured environment, whereas the environment that we worked in wasn't as structured. And I'm a person that prefers structure because I have a beginning, a middle, and end. It gives me a place of where I'm going. I hate to be in the gray and just floating around. Irks me, bothers me, frustrates me. However, when she came from a very structured environment, and therefore she was trying to structure an environment that had never been structured, and that wasn't opening itself to be structured. And so because of that, she wasn't accepted. She wasn't chosen by most of the team and most of the administrators, and she felt it. How many of y'all go through that? How many of you guys are new to a company, a business, a company, whatever dynamic it is that your career path has taken you, and has gone through the same thing, that you have these great ideas, you feel as though you can add, and it's just not yielding itself to breathe, which makes you in turn feel unwanted, unneeded, and not chosen. And that was the case within this situation, which is why disapproval and exclusion feel physically painful. There's real science behind why rejection stings. It's not just emotional language. Neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger found that social rejection activates the same brain regions associated with physical pain. Ouch. That's why being overlooked or left out doesn't just feel sad, it literally hurts. Your brain treats social rejection like physical injury, which is why I believe so many people conform so that they can be chosen and not have to face rejection. I see that so much time and time again, where you have teams that click up and they all have like these similar personalities, which is weird to me. So I get curious and I'm like, well, what's their horoscope? Oh, they're all Aquariuses. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, they're all Virgos. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe they just gravitated towards one another, right? But as I actually dig deeper past the horoscopes, you guys, let's get past the horoscopes and the you know, the sun sign, moon sign, wind sign, all the things, right? Not that I'm discrediting it. To some extent, it is truthful. When I dig a little deeper and I look into the actions of others within environments that I've been in, I notice they're actually just conforming in a way to be accepted by others. You have your lone wolves, me, who's not conforming to anyone's grand gestures of anything. I find my place, I nestle there, I move on until till I'm no longer in that environment. And I don't stay places long. I'm just going to be honest. I'm just that person. I'm just that girl. I don't. Matter of fact, my kids were so shocked and surprised when I told them I have never been at a job more than 2 years. They were like, what? I'm like, yeah. And that actually just happened recently. I've never been at a job more than 2 years. And I'm 42 right now. And so, yeah, like in my late 30s, I was like, I just hit that milestone. Like, oh crap, I was here for 2 years. Cool. Never had it happen in my life because I am very much entrepreneurial at heart. I very am much the person that beats to the rhythm of my own drum, and I'm sure you are too, which is why you don't care about being chosen really. But that's actually most of the world who does want to be chosen, which is why childhood imprinting teaches us what chosen really means. I actually mentioned that a little bit when I was talking about being a middle child and not being chosen. And having to deal with that and grow up, like it's okay. And I'm sure that it possibly is the reason why I never cared to feel chosen or be chosen, because I had that, I don't want to say chip on my shoulder, but that innate, you know, emotional attachment that was detached of not necessarily being chosen. And so it gave me I don't give a F attitude, and I kind of still carry that. Let me just lean into it. I carry it. I'm guilty. I do. I'm just going to lean into it. Let me not, sugarcoat it. And it's okay. It makes me who I am, and I'm all right with that. But it does. Childhood does imprint what chosen means on the mind. Attachment theory tells us that early caregiver relationships shape our lifelong sense of worth. When a child is chosen, picked up, hugged, or preferred, the brain internalizes I matter. When a child is ignored, compared, or relegated, the brain learns I must earn my place. Many adults still crave being chosen because the wound from being overlooked never healed. We look for in adulthood what we lacked in childhood. And at one point, I did look for that, what I was lacking, and decided to actually substitute that with unfruitful relationships, which that didn't last long. However, I did realize quickly that me choosing me is what was most important. I want you to also choose you and self-reflect on yourself. Am I wanting to be chosen? Have I chosen myself first? That's what's most important. And I'm going to tell you this also. If you're liking the content, join us in the community. Click subscribe and add to the conversation in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts and keep the conversation going. So, guess what? Society reinforces being chosen as success. Culturally, we echo this idea, right? Be chosen for the job, be selected for the team, be the one picked by the man or the woman. What? Even dating apps revolve around choice. Swipe left, swipe right. We quantify choosability. In this culture, being chosen gets equated with winning. I'm winning. We're winning in this year, whatever year it is, right? Not just belonging, validation. We want external signals that confirm our internal worth. Now, on a deeper level, on a psychological, on a chemical level, I remember looking at an episode of Oprah. This was years ago, and they were talking about when a child doesn't receive that validation, like that love, like starting from birth, what it does. And I remember it was this young girl that it actually crippled her. She didn't know how to speak. Now, she didn't have any defects. She was a healthy, I'm going to say happy, but she was a healthy baby. But because of not being chosen by her parents, because of being neglected from the love and the care and the skin to skin and all the things that come with a child feeling validated when they're a baby, growing up into the top years and so on and so forth, she didn't develop a sense of speaking, of listening, it was so many things that went along with it. I think even her walking, she didn't even learn how to walk until like much later. I had to find that episode because it was so deep. I remember I was like 14 or 15 when I watched that. I was like, what? And for me, I've always been more of I'm a hugger, and I am very endearing with my children. And I'm like, I can never not just give them the love and the joy that's needed to show them that they matter. And so that really broke my heart. I would never forget that episode. I have to find it. Anyway, not being chosen creates a fear loop. Psychology shows that fear of missing out, FOMO, isn't just hype. It's a real emotional phenomenon. When people feel left out or unchosen, they experience anxiety that loops in the brain like a threat signal. I'm invisible. I'm unloved. I don't matter. So we chase being chosen not for pleasure, but to quiet the fear. We seek selection to calm the threat response in our nervous system. I have fear of missing out when I was younger, but it wasn't long lasting. It didn't last long. I realized very early that I didn't really give a crap, and I enjoyed my company most, which is why I always chose me. I did day dates with myself when I was 15. Because it was me choosing my mental health, holding my self-worth and self-love. We have to take a pause and do that for ourselves all the time. And I would take pauses for myself when I was younger to see how I felt. I still do it as an adult. I started out recording in my podcast space, and because I wasn't getting the quiet that I needed, and I was competing with having to get up super early to record my podcast in my office, I decided to just record it in my closet. I get quiet. I get a peace of mind. I hang out in here anyway. I think I said this on an old video. We have to make sure we are learning and to choose ourselves first and what that actually means. Because we confuse choice with identity affirmation. Many people define themselves by who picks them. She chose me, so I must be worth it. He didn't pick me, so I must be lacking. They picked someone else, so I'm not enough. This confuses external selection with internal worth. We let choice dictate identity when it should be the other way around. Identity dictating choice. Your worth shouldn't depend on who picks you. This is what I tell my daughters. I lean into them on this space most because what I've seen is that most women want to be chosen and to be picked by the man of their dreams. They're willing to tarnish friendships, backstab, backbite, which is a biblical term for gossip. They will gossip by telling lies and spreading those lies. So what I tell my daughters is this: you're enough. Nobody determines if you're enough but you. Define how a lady carries herself after the scriptures, Proverb 31. To be virtuous. A compliment from a man doesn't mean you now have to give your body to them because you felt chosen. And no one is in charge of your happiness but you. Your identity should dictate your choice. Period. These are just a few things I say because I say a lot. And I don't want them to get stuck in the perpetual loop of having to look and be a certain way in order to be seen or chosen. See, choosing someone feels like legacy. Being chosen feels like love. At the deepest spiritual and emotional level, humans crave two things: to choose well, that's purpose; to be chosen well, that's love. When someone picks you intentionally, not as an afterthought, not as convenience, it feels like affirmation of your unique role in this world. And because that sensation is rare, we want it like air. Everyone wants to be chosen because being chosen affirms meaning, belonging, and love. Which is why I tell my sons to choose wisely, because there's always a woman that's looking to be chosen by you. Try to choose like Abraham chose Sarah, or how Rebecca was chosen for Isaac. I tell them who they choose to build with affects the entire dynamics of the family if they choose poorly, because it does. So their decision should be one of a sound mind, and the Bible should always be at the helm of that decision. And the reason why I say that to my sons, and I also repeat the same things to my daughters as well. I say the same things in different ways to both genders. I'm very family oriented. We are a group, a tribe, a community. And so I need them to be whole people. They have great character, and to be whole to where they're not looking for someone to fill whatever void of whatever that is, because they want to feel chosen or to feel enough in someone else's eyes. Because it'll always fail if that's how you're going into life. I don't have to be chosen by someone. And you may even say, well, you're married, so did someone choose you? Well, ultimately, yeah. I chose them because I knew my identity. I chose my husband because I knew my identity. And if he didn't accept that, that was okay with me also. Not that I'm just some aggressive. What do they do? They have these sound bites out here these days. I really don't care to even try to repeat. I just know what I want. I know who I am. If you're with it, cool. If you're not, cool. And I just want that for my children and anyone else out there that's listening. It's really that simple. I try to simplify as many things as possible. So here's the truth about being chosen, okay? It's not just a preference. It's a deep-wired survival instinct, emotional currency, and psychological imprint combined. We want to be enough, not just eligible. We want connection that's intentional, not accidental. And we want someone to see us, select us, and want us, not just tolerate us. But here's where clarity changes the game. Your worth is not dependent on whether someone chooses you. It's anchored in who you already are. And when you stop basing your identity on selection, you stop shrinking yourself to be chosen, and you start being the one who chooses with clarity and courage. So, I'm going to leave y'all with this. Remember, question everything, starting with why. Because why is always the question. And I'm out, y'all. Peace.